I'm learning a lot of things since I'm new at it. But in our side of the Senate, our basic question is, where is the money going to come from to do the 4%? And only the information I received back in the first week of February comes from the Legislative Services, Fiscal Services Division. And it showed with 4%, I mean, certainly you can do it, but then all of a sudden there's a lot of consequences not very far down the road with eating into the surpluses and so forth, rainy day funds, whatever you want to call them. But it doesn't look to me like it's a real sustainable deal. There are some school districts that have set their budget for next year at 0% already. Because if this fails to get decided, that's where it will be. Some of them are making plans for more than that. I have no idea why. Now, I'm sorry, Dr. Brunner, I don't know that you guys have, but I would, so I'm not imputing anybody's, no, shouldn't have started that one. But I think you understand where I'm coming from. And it's a difficult issue, and there's nobody, when I get nasty emails saying I don't care about kids, and we're putting in over half of what our new money for next year is in the schools, if you sent me one of those, well, I somewhat resent it, because it's just simply not true. If we want to really talk about disparity in education and funding education, let me tell you about some disparity in funding education when most of my school districts in my district have to spend a disproportionate amount of money to get those kids to school every day that takes money away from the classroom. You want to talk about some disparities? Let's start there. When I've got teachers that go to their urban neighbors and see all the wonderful things they've got in their classroom because they don't have to spend much money getting those kids moved, and we got to spend in some districts $600 to $700 a kid just to get them to school every day. To talk about some disparities, let's get started.
And actually, if you want to have that conversation, there are urban challenges as well.
I understand.
But I said this, your question was, what should the number be? Guess what? We both sides have said what they think the number should be. Here's what I'll say. Could we at least not back up? Could we at least not fall 5 more places from the rest of the country when it comes to this? And let me say a couple other things. Governor's budget, just for the governor's office, goes up 8% this year. The governor's budget, to his credit, for the first time in many years, has an increase for community colleges, 1.75%, not 1.25%, 1.75%. Private colleges, budget goes up over 8%. Regents institution, budget goes up 1.75%. There are lots of places in the state budget that are going to get a heck of a lot more than K-12 education. Lots of places in the state budget. And to say that more than half of our new money is going to K-12 education, or going to education, if education's more than half of our budget, they should get more than half of that. That doesn't really tell you very much. And the reality is, over the last 15 or 20 years, we've gone from 60% for education in this state down to 55%. That is a shrinking commitment. People say it's just like a family, you gotta have a budget. Well, guess what? My family, Kate and Sarah were both going to college at the same time, and we wanted to make sure they got a good education and a ticket to a better life. Guess what? Our savings account went down.
Okay, we will move on to our next question from Cindy Keithley, right back there, regarding Florinda mental health. Is there any progress with either stopping the closures in Florinda and Mount Pleasant, or creating a real plan that can be implemented to serve those in need?
There is some, I'm not sure, progress. The Senate has passed a bill that requires Corinda to stay open and to continue to take new people, new patients into their facility through July 1st. So we passed that, and sent that bill to the House, and it was done in a bipartisan way in the Senate. And then we intend in the budget to finance the continuation of both Corinda and Mount Pleasant. Those two institutions that are on the chopping block to be closed. So we're certainly trying to do something on that subject. And let me say this, I'm not completely against the concept of figuring out how many of these institutions we need and where we do. But doing it just by pulling the plug out and not knowing whether you have any services to support those, that just doesn't make very good sense. And I would say when it comes to the issue of mental health in this state, there are a host of incredible challenges based on the budget that the governor's put forth. And legislators, I think of both parties, are trying to work through that. When we move to managed care for Medicaid, there are going to be thousands of people in the state of Iowa who may in fact lose the arrangement they have. They have developmentally disabled kids that are in a situation now that the family believes it's working for them. And nobody's sure if there's going to be any community-based services to serve those people. So we think this is kind of a fire sale approach to reorganizing. We're just going to sell off a bunch of pieces and then try and, we're not going to sell them off. We're going to close down a bunch of pieces of this system and then figure out if there's a way to deliver services to those folks. So we think it's, when it comes to the managed care for Medicaid, no other state has done it as fast as Iowa is attempting to do this. No other state. There are real savings that can be had in Medicaid by managed care. And all of us, all of our insurance has some level of managed care. The insurance company doesn't just pay for whatever it is the doctor says or for whatever the drug is that they get. So all of us are subject to some level of managed care in our lives. We're not against managed care. But this one's going to be massive, and literally thousands of people with kids with intellectual disabilities are going to be scrambling to figure out how to put back together a life that works.
Well, I believe in the House there is a bipartisan support, so let's just hold off. Let's not just pull the plug and see what happens. I've talked to a lot of Republicans who are in support of keeping them open. Let's study, let's see what's the best way to go. I mean, we've had several bills come up for tracking beds and several other things, but I think they're going to be, I just hope we can keep them open until we decide what's the best thing for the mental health. I think we do have a problem in Iowa with the mental health system. We're going to take a hard look at it and manage it.
There are some activities going on to try to make sure that these patients are cared for. There are some non-governmental entities that have a lot of expertise and been doing a lot of it for a lot of years. In fact, some of them are being done across the river in Omaha and in Omaha and Nebraska now. Senator Costello and I have met with one of these entities a couple of times who have been doing this for 40 years. They are working in Omaha and Nebraska. They have just started working some in northeast Iowa. It's a community-based, and that's where mental health care is going to. Trying to get away from this institutionalized concept that we've had. So it's not like everything is, there's nothing being done, because there are things. This entity, and I know there are others out there, but I've been familiar with this one, they started putting things in place in northeast Iowa the 1st of December, and have already got people placed in situations to provide them care. This subject is really hot, but it's not necessarily brand new. I visited with a lady Monday morning. I live about 20 miles from the Corinda MHI. So I know a lot of people who work there. I know, in fact, sadly, I've got some friends that have family members there and have been for a long time. So it gets a little close to home. But this lady that I visited with Monday morning, she says, I went to work there in 1963, and she says they were talking about closing it down then. So this, you know, and sometimes when these ideas start, they never ever go away. But of course, now we look at a time in this country when we're looking at different ways of delivering services to mentally ill people. And that this is what we've come to. It's unfortunate that it's happening this fast. I've said even to the governor's office, it would have been nice had we had a year and a half to start to put a deadline of the, you know, July or June 31 or 30th of 2016, that this is all going to be different, but that's not what's happened. And we just hope that we will find a place for these people to provide them the best care we possibly can, but it's going to look vastly different than it does today.
And just following up. Excuse me. On what Tom said, excuse me, this is the capital credit that's been going along around with everybody. But following up with that, we do have the long-term challenge with the mental health institutes as well as the resource centers in Glenwood and Woodward, in that the federal government is pushing to eliminate those kinds of institutions or to at least minimize their presence. We know that those patients are getting excellent care, but the federal attitude is that we are warehousing mentally ill people. So, again, we have a lot of expertise in the Clarinda area and in the Mount Pleasant area, and there are looks at developing the different types of privately sponsored homes, group homes for the people that have the challenges. I know in the Human Resource Committee we had a guest in who is now operating programs in the Cedar Rapids area very successfully in taking care of people that have those needs. Additionally, on Thursday, I believe it was the Senate file we sent out of the Human Resources Committee that would, yes it was, is Senate file 401, which would double the number of subacute beds available throughout the state and also make them available for involuntary patients. So we're opening up as many avenues as we can. It's not flashy, but there are efforts afoot.
Well, Senator Shipley and Representative Forrestal are correct in saying that there is work that is being done. Clearly, I think this took a lot of people by surprise, and I spoke with a woman this past week in Des Moines whose adult son struggles with mental illness, and in fact had spent time in the past at Clarinda. And she said, you know, I don't even have a problem with Clarinda closing. She said, I understand the reasons, it makes sense to me, but she said, I'm just so terribly concerned about the transition. And I think that's where all of us are mostly coming down, is that we don't want anyone to slip through the cracks. We don't want anyone who certainly is vulnerable in this sense, and these are some of our most vulnerable citizens, to not get the care, the continuance of care that they need. And so I've communicated to the governor's office as well, that concerns that my constituents have and others have in terms of the sort of fast-paced nature of this, and that's, I think, where our priority is trying to make sure that this transition is not, does not have holes that will cause harm to some of these individuals. But there is work being done behind the scenes. Some people are working very, very hard to try to bring the pieces together on this, and that work, will continue, obviously.
Follow-up questions, Cindy?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Leonard Eady regarding premise, right there. Where are we on Senate File 344 that creates the apprenticeship training tax credit?
Well, you've heard the discussion about we don't have any money for anything this year. So the new tax credit, that bill is in Ways and Means, I believe. So it came out of the Economic Growth Committee, I think. I think that's where it came from, and it's in the Ways and Means Committee. And we are looking for some offsetting mechanisms that would offset the cost of that program, so that save money someplace so we can invest it in apprenticeship programs. We have a skilled worker shortage in the state of Iowa, and so in a whole variety of ways, we keep looking to make sure we have a workforce that works for the 21st century, and we're gonna, so we're trying to find a way to do that, Bill. I don't know if we will or we won't at this point. If we don't, we're still kind of interested in getting the structure passed, and then when we have some money set aside for that.
Yep, all question?
No, that's good.
Next question comes from Steve right over here regarding guns. Would you please review all the gun legislation still alive in the legislature, both pro and con gun rights?
I don't think there's anything that's con gun rights that's out there, that's come out of committee on either side. There was a bill on stand your ground, that most people, I think, in the legislature believe that's effectively current law, that you can stand your ground in your home, in your workplace, or in the public. Most people believe that's existing law, chapter 704 of the code, and then chapter 707 relative to, that's 704 is the criminal side, 707 is the civil side, so you can be sued for using a gun to protect yourself, your property, your family, and the law says no, you can't. So, and on both sides, that legislation has not moved forward. So there's a bill introduced in the Senate, a bill introduced in the House, and both those bills are effectively funneled at this time because they never made it out of committee in their House of origin. And again, I think mostly because people think our existing law is appropriate. But obviously some people probably disagree with that or they didn't introduce the bill. Then last year there was a bill to legalize the use of silencers, which everybody said, well, let's not call them silencers because they don't really silence the gun, and so they started calling them suppressors. And so it's kind of been renamed the suppressor bill, and there's a lot of interest in that because it isn't really the kind of thing that criminals use, silencers. If you're into gangs, you want the intimidation of the noise of the gun anyway, you know. So, and to get one, you have to go through a significant federal background check, FBI background check. You have to pay $500 for the privilege of owning a silencer, or a suppressor. Got to keep myself on the chart. So that was the presenting problem last year. They took that up in the House committee, and they started adding this set of other things. And law enforcement came in and said, we don't have a good database. So if you've got a permit from Potawatomi County and you're driving in Scott County, this is on concealed carry permits. How does Scott County know if it's a valid permit or if it's been revoked? So the law enforcement said, let's try and get a database. And people said, well, let's get rid of the permit to acquire a handgun. There's a law in the state of Iowa that requires you to get a permit to acquire a handgun. Under the and so okay, that sounds okay because you're going to get the background check when you go to the firearms dealer. I don't know whether it was deliberate or inadvertent, but they effectively do by doing away with the permit to acquire. Current law says you go into the sheriff, he gives you a permit to acquire, and 72 hours later you can get the gun. It's a 3-day waiting period. People view it as a cooling off period for either somebody that is suicidal or homicidal, and they go into the sheriff, they get the permit to acquire a pistol, and then they have to wait 72 hours before they can actually buy it. And so a lot of people believe that even though that's a minor inconvenience for law-abiding gun owners, the minor inconvenience for them, if it saves a few lives, I think most people say that's okay. And so the House bill, as passed, repeals the 3-day waiting requirement, for people buying a handgun. By the way, they can, of course, go buy a long gun anytime they want to. There's no, but it repeals that requirement. It also effectively repeals the requirement for a background check. If you get the permit to acquire, the sheriff does a background check. And if you do away with that requirement to get a permit to acquire a handgun, there's no background check. Now, if I go to a gun dealer, a federally licensed gun dealer, they run the background check. If I go to you under current law, and you're gonna sell me a gun, under current law, you're supposed to ask to see my permit to acquire. And if I don't have one, you're not supposed to sell it to me. You're not only not supposed to, it's a felony if you do. So that's existing law in the state of Iowa. So the House bill has repealed the 3-day waiting requirement and repealed the requirement for a background check between individuals, not the federally licensed firearm dealer, but between individuals. That's the resistance in the Senate. Then there's this talk about lowering the age that people allege they didn't know that kids under the age of 14 aren't allowed to use handguns. They use shotguns and rifles. I remember going hunting with my dad. He made us carry a single shot 20-gauge shotgun for a whole pheasant season empty. So at the age of 11, we carried it. We went out and we were acting like we were hunting, but there was no shell in the gun. So we gone for a full season carrying the gun empty. We couldn't do it. And then we had single shot shotgun for the next 2 or 3 seasons before we let us use another one. So that's where the law is, and that's what's messed the law up. So anyway, there are a few people that would like to teach their younger than 14-year-old kids how to use a handgun. And there are people that say we should lower that age. There are people that say we should do away with that age. I don't think people are ready, collectively, the populace is ready to say, yeah, it's okay with me if you give a 3-year-old a loaded handgun. So I don't think you're going to get no age, but you might be able to get some reduction in the age from 14. But we're not, I think it's unlikely the Senate will proceed on doing away with the 3-day waiting period, and I think it's unlikely they will do away with the requirement that you ask me to see my permit to acquire, so that a background check is done on you before you sell me that gun. So that's where we're at. I do give long answers, don't I?
Yes.
Segrist is back there going like this.
I think Mike pretty well covered
I would just add that bill, which was thoroughly described there, did pass on a bipartisan basis out of the House. So it did have bipartisan support.
I do get probably as many emails about this particular subject. Unfortunately, many of them are not getting the right information. If we just go back to just use an example, the suppressors issue, I get questions about getting silencers, and everybody thinks the silencers are like they see on NCIS and person of interest, and absolutely nothing like that. And why would anybody need those? Well, people that are firearms instructors, people that like to do target shooting. I even talked to one of our my colleagues the other day who had took his son to a firing range, and they had suppressors on some of the weapons they were firing. He says you still had to have ear protection because they were not knocking the noise down on some of those firearms like you want to prevent ear. A lot of misinformation, and it's just important. Hopefully, by what we're doing to try to here today is get some facts in front of people. But, people just don't understand why anybody wants their child to handle a weapon. Well, I would like to have them handle it so they know what they're doing with it. The issue comes too often when they have friends over at the house, and they didn't know anything about how to handle something like that. We were taught from a young age, I don't ever remember when it wasn't like we were crazy about it, but on the other hand, Dad made sure that we understood what we had there and what we were to do with it. And I would much rather have a kid know how to handle it, because they're out there everywhere. And if he goes to a friend's house and they've got a gun there, I want them to understand what they're supposed to do. Violence is an issue in this country, but it comes more from the standpoint of people having absolutely no respect for another person and the sanctity of life and something.
Steve, you have a follow-up question?
Senator Grassley, you said that both of those bills you described are out there for the year.
We have people in our chamber working on the larger one, but I'd say it's pretty messy. Again, last year, NRA came to us and said, give us a suppressors bill. 30-some states, 38 states, maybe 40 states allow citizens to buy suppressors, and they're really used by people that are in competitive shooting sports or hunting and do that. There's really not a criminal use for suppressors because they don't make the sound stop. So I'm kind of sympathetic to the suppressors thing. But if that was the presenting problem last year, how did it grow to, and we're going to let 3-year-olds handle handguns, and we're going to do away with the 3-day waiting period, and we're going to do away with background checks on private sales in the state. It grew from an issue that almost everybody in the legislature said last year when they brought up, yeah, let's think about that. That's serious, but it came up fairly late in the session last year, so we said, we'll take a look at it next year. Well, it went from a simple bill that's only about suppressors to a 4 or 5-page bill that does a whole bunch of other things. If we can't find consensus on those other things, we will in all likelihood pass a suppressor legalization bill that's just about suppressors. So that's where we're at. Which was the presenting problem a year ago. It was legal ownership of suppressors.
Okay, before we get to closing comments, I've just got to do a few more thank yous to Wilson School again, and congratulations to Principal Patrick. I'd like to thank today's sponsors, C.T. Hansen & Sons Paving Insurance, Leach Camper Sales Incorporated, our gold sponsors, Ameristar Casino Hotel, Black Hills Energy, Iowa Western Community College, and the series sponsor, Hy-Vee. We would like to invite you again tonight to the Sioux School Junior Musical tonight. It starts at 7 p.m. You get a discount by saying you're here today, so save money, and the kids would love to see you. We do have currently one legislative coffee scheduled, again, 2 weeks from today. And before we get to closing comments, I'd just like to say that you saw today that there is a deep level of knowledge and a deep level of passion from people that represent you. I've said before, you can agree or disagree with them, and make no mistake, they work really hard on your behalf. And I would think we should thank them all for their hard work. And with that, we'll go to closing comments.
Okay, so if you have bills or organizations that you're a part of have bills that are not yet through committees on both sides, both House and Senate, you should probably call us and say, hey, call us or communicate with us or email us, and we'll do our best to check out where it's at and give you a straight answer as to whether it's got a shot or it doesn't have a shot. But you should probably start making sure you're lobbying on those funds that are coming. I'm sorry with the other. So I'll stop there. It's been great to have all of you here today. And Segrist applauded because I said I'd stop there.
And I truly want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to be here and listen. I appreciate all your questions. I want you to know, and I feel it's an honor and a privilege to serve you. And thank you again.
Well, before I say a couple of words, I just wanted Mitch to be aware that apparently there was a question that fell out of your stack. that landed on my desk here, and so I feel since it's been submitted, we should probably ask it. It's submitted by Naomi Leinen, and the question is, why does the Denison Legislative Coffee, sponsored by Hy-Vee, have a bunny for Easter and we do not?
Actually, we have 5 bunnies there today. I'll tell you what, we can have one here next. Bring your kids, we'll have one here next time. How's that?
Is there a follow-up? Well, thank you all for being here, and we know there are a lot of very, very important issues that are in front of the legislature, that in front of you every day as you live your lives and do your jobs and move our state forward. So thank you for showing up today, and thank you for taking such an interest yourself in what goes on in your community and your state. Please stay in touch with us. If you come to Des Moines, please let us know. We had the Iowa Western Ambassadors there this week. I know Leanne was there this week, and there are others, and we love seeing friendly faces from home. So please let us know when you come to Des Moines. Just thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
And it's good to be back in Council Bluffs. For the last few weeks, I've had about 8 forums out around the county. I do have the far eastern part of Council Bluffs and then most of the rest of Potawatomi County. And rather than making people drive 70 or 80 miles to talk to me, I did get around to 8 other cities to have meetings over the last few weeks, but I'm kind of glad to be back here with a significant number of people, and I'm thankful that you could all attend. So look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Well, I too want to echo and thank you for your interest and concern. I get a lot of emails, and I would ask if you do send me an email, please make sure you put where you're from. I get a lot of emails that don't have any town, and phone numbers don't tell us anything anymore. Some of you from Council Bluffs that do send me an email and have your phone number, it's a 402. Well, I know 402 is a Nebraska area code, but I also know it has the possibility of being a Western Iowa telephone. So please put your community down so I have an idea of where you're at, and I try to make every effort to respond back to people that are in my district, and even if you're not, if I know who you are, sometimes I will anyway, Mr. Forstall, the first advice he gave me was to make sure and stay on top of your emails or you'll get swamped. And he's absolutely right. And it doesn't take more than a couple days to feel like you're swamped. So, but I do make it so I don't necessarily get back to the ones that I get from Clinton County. But I do make sure to try to get back to the ones from here. So I would just ask if you do that, I would love to hear from you. And but just make sure I know where you're from. Thank you.
They'll be around for a half hour. Come up and let them know your thoughts, and thank you for coming.